Come on, y'all, I can do better than that. Good morning, Dekalb County. If y'all aren't fired up from hearing from those two phenomenal speakers, I don't know what will fire you up. It's an honor to be here. I'm Attorney Gerald Griggs, 13th President of the Georgia State Conference of the NAACP. And I wanted to be here this morning to be a part of a Jubilee celebration. As we reflect on how far we've come and how far we have to go, we have to remember the words and the lessons of our ancestors. 1863, they were sitting in a church like this. Watch night service. Many had watch night service last night. They don't even know what they were watching for. The tradition of the watch night service was awaiting the Emancipation Proclamation and freedom. And so as we enter into 2025, we are expecting the same freedom. Let's be clear, freedom has never been free. We fought, bled, and died for every right that we hold dear. And it's incumbent upon my generation, the generation above us, to make sure that next generation gets every single right. Now, our national president, who brings greetings, and our national board chair, Leon Russell, also brings greetings. I remember being in Las Vegas when the theme was all in. And our national chairman said, if you're all in, you'll volunteer. If you're all in, you'll make sure that we have voter registration and voter mobilization. If you're all in, you will speak truth to power to politicians in season and out of season. Yeah, now y'all know I like getting in some good and necessary trouble. I was trained by the best. Teresa's one of them. John Evans is another. John Lewis is another. C.T. Vivian's another. And I hope that I'm holding up the mantle of John Dale Johnson. But we have something very important that's going to happen on January the 20th. We will see who really are freedom fighters. Because the fight is in this generation now. And you know, we are not partisan, but our national president says we are political as the H word. I'm not going to say it in the sanctuary. And it's incumbent upon us to be that. Because if we are going to protect women's rights, if we're going to protect black history, if we're going to protect voting rights, if we are going to protect our very existence, it's time for us to be freedom fighters, not talk about it. It's time for us to get in some good and necessary trouble, not reflect on what happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It's time for us to be what our ancestors saw. I want to summon the name of one of my ancestors. His name was Henry Griggs. You know, I have a little one. Hopefully you guys watch the videos. He's 7 months old. His nickname is Deuce, but his other name is Henry. And the reason his name is Henry is because my great-great-great-grandfather's name was Henry Griggs. He was a slave in Shadydale, Georgia, which is in Jasper County. I want my son to remember what his ancestors went through so that we will never experience that again. But not just remember. I want him to make his ancestors proud. That's what we have to do. And so as we reflect on this Jubilee celebration, let's reflect on what our ancestors were expecting. Because let's be clear, yes, some of us have been to the mountaintop and they've looked over and they've seen the promised land, but we are not in the promised land. In fact, Pharaoh is approaching and thinking of re-enslaving us. But as Moses stood in front of that Red Sea and put that staff down and those seas parted, that's where we are right now. So I know 240 years of slavery is a long time, but our ancestors far back went through 400 years. So our question today is what are you going to do to ensure a future is bright for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? That's what this association is about. 116 years of standing on the forefront, but we can't do it alone. We need our members to understand that this is the moment for our generation. This is our Montgomery moment. This is our Selma moment. This is our Freedom Summer 2020 moment. I heard our young generation speak, and I appreciate you. We will not let you down. Now I want to speak to the association, and I will do this all over the state of Georgia. In January, legislative session will begin. We need to remind those folks under the Gold Dome that this state is black. Period. We need to remind them that you will not erase our history. You will not take our voting rights. You will not take us to Jim Crow 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever .0. Because we are the descendants of kings and queens, and we will make sure that not one law is passed, not one ordinance is enacted, not one case is ruled on that will set us back. And I have a message for the guy who's going to be inaugurated in Washington. You still have a case here in Georgia. Because there's some people in this state, many of you are in the audience, are sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Georgia. And when a grand jury returns an indictment in this state, that means the citizens, not politicians, not political operatives, but the citizens decide a crime was committed. And so the citizens will convene as a jury and hear evidence. And if he's not guilty, they will set him free. But if he is guilty, they will send him to Jackson. So not only do I have a message to him, but I have a message to those learned jurists in the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. We are all members of the bar. We don't turn a blind eye to the law or the process. We let the process play itself out. We follow precedent because precedent is what maintains law and order. And in order for the people to have confidence in law and order, we have to be about law and order. And so here's the message, y'all. It's time for us to put our boots on. It's time for us to get our signs ready. It's time for us to show up in the streets, in the suites, in the halls of power, and at the courthouse. Because there seems to be some members of our community who believe that they are above the law. There seems to be some members of our community that believe that they can take folks' rights and nobody's going to fight them. But then there's a greater number of our community that recognizes we've been here before. We've done this before. We know how this ends. It ends with us winning, because in this association, whether it's Thurgood or Ida, whether it's W.E.B. Du Bois or Dr. King, both senior and junior, we know how to get in some good and necessary trouble, and we know how to win. So I want y'all to repeat after me. I think y'all know this slogan. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. So it's time for us to get in the fight, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Executive Committee of the Georgia State Conference, and I look forward to winning. Thank you.